Ralston Bent was born in the beautiful island of Jamaica. He started reading at a very early age. He attended Black River High School and dreamt of pursuing a career in immunology. He began teaching after high school and taught chemistry and biology for 8 months. Shortly after his experience teaching, he was approached by someone for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to obtain a scholarship in Cuba. After overcoming many obstacles and pressing on, Ralston graduated as a veterinarian and zootechnist in 2011 from Central University of Las Villas. After graduating, he returned home to Jamaica and got offers for several positions. In 2022, he was offered an opportunity in the Turks and Caicos Island, taking care of animals. Ralston strives to establish a specialized practice geared for interest in alternative medicine and One Health, and expand even more in being a veterinarian and making a difference. Let's welcome Ralston to Pathways to Success.
Good evening. Welcome to Pathway to Success. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Hunter, and we have with us today Dr. Ralston Bent. He's a veterinarian. Oh my God, I pronounced it wrong. But anyway, it's great to have Dr. Ralston Bent. Doctor, you're born in the beautiful island of Jamaica. Welcome, Jamaica, man. We can do that. I'm from Kingston, but where were you born?
I was born in well, first of all, good evening, everyone, or good night in some places. Yes, I was born in St. Catherine, but I only spent around 8 months there, so I'm really a St. Elizabeth man, more or less.
Okay, so you were born in St. Catherine, and then you relocated to St. Elizabeth.
Yes, while still a baby. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. My father was from St. Elizabeth. My mother was from Monique, but he was from St. Elizabeth. Beautiful Black River. I want to shout out to the St. Best people right there that's watching Pathway to Success with their own. I guess they have to share you St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth. So that's a total different thing. But can you tell us about your experience and teaching bio and chemistry?
Well, it was quite fulfilling, and I'll tell you, I think other persons in the teaching profession can tell you that when you're teaching and you see where, as we say in Jamaica, when it connects, when you see that person understanding what you're trying to portray to them, that feeling is second to none. So while doing that, it allowed me to even learn more, because while I was teaching, I had to be constantly studying as well. So that actually helped me. So it was a benefit to both me and the students. So it was quite good.
And how did teaching shape your career to step into this field as a vet?
Well, I realized after being in the profession for a while that the clients, the animal owners, they actually want to know what's happening with their pets, right? And what I realized is that my experience as a teacher, I'm able to explain a bit more. And what was happening in Jamaica actually afterwards is that I realized that even after a client goes to another veterinarian, a lot of times they will still call me to ask me or tell me what that veterinarian said. And more or less I have to explain to them, hey, this is why, and so on and so forth. So it allowed me to have a more strong relationship with my clients. And it really stood out. But in terms of teaching, though, I must say that there was an incident when I was in probably third form where we were given a task of writing a story. And I wrote my story. And for years, I was quite angry about it. I remember when the teacher said to me that, listen, you must not copy people stuff. And I was a bit confused. I was angry, of course, because come on, I sat down, I wrote my story, and she's now telling me it's impossible that I wrote that story. I took the negative side of that for years, but maturing, I realized, hey, you know what? The story was so good. She didn't expect a third farmer to write that. So, I as the years pass and you get more mature, I took the positive side out of that. So in my teaching, I more or less I apply that as well. Allow people to surprise you in a good way.
I like that. As a matter of fact, which school did you attend in Jamaica, and which teachers' college you went to?
Well, I attended the Black River High.
Mhm.
After sixth form, I went. I taught for 8 months, but it was not as a trained teacher per se. It was just based on what I did at school, why I was recommended for that position. After that, I went to Cuba.
Very brilliant young man. Oh my word. Very astute and very brilliant. So, but what motivated you to pursue a scholarship opportunity in Cuba, despite the challenges, the tight deadlines, and also this let's look at it, despite the language barrier?
Oh yes, oh yes. All right. So to be fair, I only heard about the scholarship a few weeks after it was closed. But as destiny would have it, as the good Lord has seen it fit, I was informed of it, of the scholarship, and that there were two spaces still available. And of course, the deadline had already passed, but I was able to get everything together within a 2 week span, and
Wow.
I took that up. But of course, I saw the positive to pursuing this scholarship due to the fact that I know what I wanted to do, and the cost factor in Jamaica was quite high. And of course, I mean, I'm there with my siblings. It was only just Ralston, so it was
Yeah,
really the best option at that time.
it's great. And how did your time in Cuba, studying as a vet, medicine and zoo techniques contribute to your personal and professional growth at the time?
Well, I was always interested in the sciences, but my real passion was immunology, right? And when I was given the opportunity to take up veterinary studies, I mean, I grasped it because originally I did not go to Cuba to study veterinary medicine. I actually went to do robotics, and I
Really?
took it upon myself to change. So, um, yes. So how it shaped was that the way in Cuba is a lot of hands-on training. So yes, you do a lot of the theory and stuff as everywhere does, but in Cuba it's a lot of hands-on stuff. So it's a thing you're practicing, you're doing the practicals and everything at the same time. So it was more, it was a wholesome experience because I mean, yearly, for example, I know normally you would have like a term paper or coursework. Every year in Cuba, it's basically as if you're doing a thesis. You have to do it the same guidelines as you would do like a thesis for a master's or a doctorate. It's something like that. Of course, not to the extent, but the Cuban experience is like that.
And how long did you stay in Cuba? You studied in Cuba for?
Well, in the veterinary field, I spent 5 years, but before that, it would have been 1 year for the language. So we're looking at 7 years plus. The language changing the career to veterinary medicine. So it was quite a bit.
Oh, that's great. But were you versed in Spanish before you went to Cuba? Because based on what you were saying to me back before we went on live, you said to us that literally everything was in Spanish. How did you navigate yourself around that? Coming from a
Okay,
Spanish.
great. That's a pretty interesting question because, of course, would have all done some amount of Spanish in high school, but I was not. I was not a very good Spanish student, right? So I dropped it at the first chance I got. So yes, going to
Likewise.
Cuba, I could remember sí and no, yes and no. That's it. However, when we got there, it was a very intensive program where for the first month or so, our first 2.5 months, it was just 4 hours of Spanish in the morning 4 hours of Spanish in the evening. And the lecturers would not speak anything in English. So it's basically you've been thrown out to learn to swim. So, so that's how it
Anybody
is.
there that was a part of your group that know English that could read that try to help you along the way to learn?
Yeah. All right. That first year is really to grasp the language. So we had like probably 60 something Jamaicans. You had probably another 60 plus Guyanese, and from St. Lucia, from all the countries in the Caribbean, as well as some African countries and all over. So, yes, in terms of the English part, yes, we're all there struggling.
What is Cuba like? Because I've never been to Cuba. I have so many friends that are from Cuba, but we've heard so many different stories of what Cuba is. But what is Cuba like for you who have studied and lived there for a short period?
Well, probably my view is different from a native Cuban, but I saw a lot of opportunities. For example, I see Cuba as a place where basically it has no limits on what you can learn, achieve, etc. So for a person like me, I mean, I soaked that up as a sponge. I ended up leaving Cuba with 2 other additional languages outside of the
Away from Patois? Which are the others?
so,
I really want to know which other languages you picked up there.
yes, so l- passing that first hurdle of Spanish, I realized that listen, if you're already, I mean, you learn Spanish now, and I realized that listen, Portuguese is pretty close, and
Right.
French has when you know English and Spanish, you basically can navigate French. So I started doing those classes as well. Yeah, so so for me it was like that. I mean, a lot of opportunities. It's a beautiful country. Um, in some ways advanced, some ways a little behind, but overall, it's pretty. It's an experience. I mean, you have to live it to really understand it.
Well, you're highly and highly intellect. I celebrate you, Ralston. I celebrate you. You are something else. And you know what I love about you. You're not you're willing to take a chance. I'll be worrying because I don't speak Spanish. How would I order my food? What type of meal am I getting to eat? So you're just
Just to give you a joke,
tell me. I want to hear it because
with a few of my group mates, I remember the first time we went to the to a fast food place they have, and we were supposed to order chicken. So we are trying to explain to the people, like, quack quack quack, And it was funny. The people, the person serving us they were just dying with laughter. I can tell you that. So I mean, we had our cases like that where you want ice cream and you don't know how to say it. You have to be, sign language. So it
but
was
it's
pretty
time
tough.
got it.
Yes.
Now, how did you handle the practical schoolwork having to well you had to deal with animals, but how did you handle the practical side of the schoolwork? Because Jamaica, we don't have that much practicality, but it depends on the career choice that you make. But how different is their educational system from the Jamaican educational system?
Well, as I said, the first thing that will strike you if you're that person who is used to just waiting and doing that final big study for the exam,
Mhm.
that's not gonna work.
That's not going to work.
Because yes, what happens is, all right, I'm in the lecture today.
Mhm.
The next time I see you, doc, you're gonna ask me 3 questions about what we did the last session,
Wow.
and that will determine. You have some partial exams, etc., and that will determine if you get the right to do the final exams. But I ended up it worked out perfect for me, and I'll tell you why. When I realized how the system works, so to speak, what I started doing, I ensured that I aced those partial exams and evaluations. And then now, if you go to the final with an A or A plus average, you are exempted from the final. So I normally,
What? What? Are you serious?
after I overcame the language barrier, that's what I did. So what happened is that, for example, when I'm coming home to Jamaica, when I'm heading home to Jamaica, sometime in May, real exams are just starting because I would probably have 1 or 2 subjects to do the finals for. So what I do, I was able now to bring up that date and do those exams. So when I'm at home, my classmates in Cuba, my Cuban classmates would just be starting their exams. So I mean, it worked for me. That yeah, I was able to manipulate that to my benefit. So it was pretty good.
Tell me something. Do you have to cut open dead animals during your studies too? And how did that
Yes, we
go?
did that. I remember the first class I had. The first time when I went over to the veterinary faculty, and it was kind of an impromptu thing. And there was a horse with a huge abscess, and I used that as the basis to say, "Hey, am I going to stay in this career or not?" When that person cut open that abscess and all of that, that fluids are gushing out. I mean,
Oh my
it
God.
was it was quite it was quite the experience. But yes, I mean I overcame that and doing all of those in terms of anatomy and cutting open. Yes. The first few times, of course, it's a little queasy, but after a while, what you start realizing that you start focusing on the structures, the organs, etc. So you're not even seeing it as an animal per se. You're kind of just looking at, you know what you're looking for. You're trying to find this or that. So yes, after a while, you get used to that. Yes, yes.
Could you share a challenging situation you faced during your work as a coordinator for beef and dairy operations, also in the mining industry?
Oh yes. So after Cuba, of course after I went through a few short stints of teaching, I started working um, with a alumina mining company. They have agriculture department, and there were many challenges. For one, there was larceny of cattle that we had to be careful about, and I'm talking about Saint Ann. I was working in
Agent
Saint Ann.
Larson of Cattle where? Back home or in Cuba?
No, no, no. In the coordinator part was actually in Jamaica after I came out.
Oh, oh my God. No, I know. Oh my
So,
word. We don't steal
so
cattle in
so
Jamaica. What are you talking about? We don't steal cattle in Jamaica.
no, 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 no. 50 years in Cuba, you can't. No, you can't do that. So the coordinator part was in Jamaica when I came out, and that was a major challenge. Where I mean, just for your personal safety and
Mhm.
and all of that, and to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed in terms of your record keeping. And I'm talking about a company that
Yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties with Dr. Ralston.
where
Yes, you're back. Dr. Bent, you're
yes,
back.
yes, yes.
Great, great, great. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, so I'm saying that one of the challenges was that we were operating on 14 to 15,000 acres of land, and some of it with a lot of thick vegetation. So I mean, as a coordinator, in order to properly check on those animals, it was quite challenging, both as a coordinator and as a veterinarian. So um, the major challenge would have been, of course, the larceny and just covering that wide expanse of land daily. So it had its challenges.
Oh, that must be very challenging because um, you also have key responsibilities of your team as overall farm management, right? Manager
Yes,
for
yes, I was.
dairy produce in that region. Which region was that, and what was the name of that company?
That was Saint Ann, Windalco slash UC Russell.
Yeah,
Yes, so that
Dr.
was in Monique,
That's a nice.
Alderton. So I
Mm-hmm.
was living in Monique for like 4 years,
Money.
working in that. company.
Where money? Riverhead? Because my mother's from money. Where money? Where you?
No, close to that. Like on the road going to Clapham or Unity Valley, really.
Yes. I know Clapham. Yeah.
Unity Valley, yes. So
Yeah, I know Unity
in that
Valley.
area. Oh,
Right
look at that.
there. Okay. See,
And in Alderton as well. Yes.
So I just see a ching sign because I said, oh my God, that's a lot of earning power.
Yes, it is. And at that time, normally the persons who would get those jobs would be, I mean, experienced persons with over 10 years or whatever. I got that job with very little. So
Very brilliant.
yeah, so that was an accomplishment by itself.
Now, how did you manage to generate great results and maintain high standards despite having adverse conditions, weather conditions, and other challenges there in Jamaica at the time?
Well, and this continued both at Windalco and, of course, when I went to Surge.
Mhm.
The greatest thing I would say about that is building trust in a team. Because believe me, if you try to do it by yourself, you can't forget it. It will not work. So more or less giving the team that power to assist and listening to everybody, do proper team building. That's how I was able to have those overcome those challenges. And that continued even to present day.
And
Just getting their team to assist you.
how did you cope? Because normally, sometimes within a working situation, you came fresh out of college or university. You got these um, very high positions immediately, literally when you went back home. How did you cope with some people? Because some people be saying, well, he's not
Little
experienced
boy.
enough. He just walked in, get the job over somebody who have been there for many years. How did you cope with that?
Yes, in some cases it was very open. I saw those inclinations. It was very open. In others, you would suspect. But of course, I developed some measures against these things.
Mhm.
That if, for example, I hear that Dr. Hunter said this, I would say, hey, he didn't say it to me. So guess what? He didn't say it. So I was able to pass over certain things. Yes. So but yes, it was like that because persons would be saying, this is the boy, this is the stuff like that. Because I mean, of course, I would not be the oldest person in these companies. And you have persons there probably waiting on the succession for years, right?
Mhm.
So me coming in, there was a lot of friction at times. But what I did, as I said, I more or less I jump in, got my hands dirty each time. So there was no job too dirty or too low for me, right? Yes, I'm the manager, but guess what? I jump in and I work as hard as anybody else, or even harder.
Mhm.
And over time, without me even approaching persons, you could just see the change. They're not used to this. They're used to the manager being that person, in that high chair. But I was never a person like that.
Yeah.
So it came natural to me. So those were the kind of things I implemented, which is why even after I've left those companies, they're still comparing or they're trying to compare persons with me, and it's like, hey, you cannot, because people want to understand that because the typical manager is that type of, standoff. Yes, I'm not that person.
But you're also a quarantine officer, right? At TCL,
Yeah,
TTI.
in Turks and Caicos Island right now, that is my position right now. In Grand Turk, but I must confess to you that in terms of the quarantine side of the job, I
Mhm.
do very little. I am 98% of the time doing veterinary work, working with donkeys, small, cats, dogs, etc. The majority of my work is really there. So
Right.
yes, so
That mean,
the,
are you stating that there are a lot of people riding donkeys there, or you're stating that because
no,
oh my God.
Grand Turk? No.
Just kidding. Because you're from the country, and my parents was from the country, back there. And that's where I first saw persons riding donkeys on the roadside. Money going up the road.
Yes. In Alderton, Claremont, etc.
Claremont, right?
Yes.
Money. Well, no, that's dangerous, but anyway. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but the situation here in Grand Turk is that of course they had the salt industry,
Mm-hmm.
and the donkeys would have been provided the labor, the manual stuff to do that, and then they are really remnants of that industry. So the donkeys just stayed around after they were not being used really, and they just reproduced, and they're all over the place. So yes.
Okay, that's good.
So it is a unique country in that respect. I mean, you can see the pros and cons of that, but it's
right. That's good. That's good.
Yes,
Well, we're going to take a short break with Dr. Ralston Bent, and we'll be right back with him on Pathway to Success.
Kimor Gallimore Ministries presents Gospel to the World, featuring Martha Monizi, DJ Nicholas, Jason Mighty, Judith Gale, Carrie Diamond, AG Icon, The Journey, DAJ, Mr. Gallimore.
Your MCs, Pastor Kevin Mellifant and Nadine Blair.
Saturday, August 12th, 2023, 6 p.m. at the Royal Palm Beach Cultural Center, Florida. Tickets $40 pre-sold, $50 at the door, $70 VIP. Get your tickets online at www.gospeltotheworld.eventbrite.com. For more information, call 1-561-563-1969. Caribbean Gospel TV, the official television network for Gospel to the World.
Sponsored by Gallimore Motor Group, Golden Crust Caribbean Restaurant, Pathways to Success, J.N. Money, Pocket Church, Larvation Web, Selling Sunset Reality, and Love 101 FM. For tickets and more, visit gospeltotheworld.org.
Did you pick out this detergent all by yourself? So cute.
It's half the size and it's half the plastic. And there's nothing cute about unnecessary plastic. Christy, the average person generates over 200 pounds of plastic a year. And there are 329 million of us in the U.S. alone.
Do you want paper or... paper? Yeah.
7th generation Easy Dose laundry detergent. Half the size, half the plastic, all the clean.
So where were we?
The playoff.
Oh, yes. Only a handful of teams remained, hailing from kingdoms far and wide across the college football land, all vying for a spot in the playoffs. Each team led by a great coach, fearless players, and defended by the loyalist of fans. Soon, they would take part in an epic playoff battle for the right to call themselves national champions. And to the victor go the spoils, a beautiful trophy, a grand celebration, and bragging rights that stand the test of time.
And then what happened?
We'll find out soon.
now under the command of the First Order.
Live your Star Wars story in a new 2-night adventure.
You know what I've come for.
Only at Walt Disney World Resort.
Welcome back to Pathway to Success. I'm your host with the most brilliant, oh my God, Jamaican I've ever interviewed. Very brilliant, Dr. Ralston Bent. Wow. Ralston, what inspired you? You know, I noticed that you're a vet, but what inspired you to focus on alternative medicine and in one area of health? And how do you plan to establish a specialized practice in this field moving forward one day?
Well, I must say, in terms of the alternative medicine, strangely, that side of it was inspired by my interest in immunology, actually. And I'll tell you a story. You know, we normally hear that the inferior organisms, you know, the bacteria, the viruses, etc. And of course, you used to think that, you know, they're not complicated until I started studying a bit more and I saw what they can do. So, you know, I got this new respect for them. And when I look at how they are able to overcome, for example, the antibiotics or, you know, any other agents we're using, and I thought about it. This was long before it got so popular, because now, if you realize nowadays, you'll hear everybody talking about antimicrobial resistance and such.
Mm-hmm.
But from a very early age, I was pretty concerned about that, especially after I saw how these microorganisms operated. So from then, I saw where the body's defense, you know, I got really tied up in that, really fascinated. And then I came to realize that, listen, it's not all about just the chemicals. What can the body do to defend itself, right? Naturally. And so I got tied up, or I got fascinated or interested in, for example, acupuncture, homeopathy, you know, those other kind of stuff. Because to be honest, nutrition plays a big part in our health, whether the health of us as human beings or the animals, right? So the quicker you learn that, is the better for you. So my view was on that, right? On nutrition, on these other types of therapies that can assist the animals. So because I was a bit advanced in my studies in Cuba, I was able to more or less segue into doing a postgraduate, even though I wasn't, I was still pursuing my degree, of course. So I was offered that opportunity. So I got that opportunity to do a postgraduate in specializing in acupuncture. And I was able to get certification in that. So outside of being a veterinarian, I'm also a veterinary acupuncturist, right? So and all of this was just looking at natural way of doing things. I'm not a big fan of this using, just depending on the traditional chemicals or, you know, the medications. I see the value of, you know, this alternative form of healthy therapies. So yeah, that's where I got hooked on this topic, and I took it a bit further. Now I'm looking now at veterinary chiropractic, right? So hopefully I'll be able to enroll in that course. I am in discussion now with a university who offers that. So when I have that completed, I mean, I'll now be able to treat animals not just by the traditional ways of doing it with these medications, which, you know, everything have a side effect. And that goes for us, it goes for the animals, it goes for everything, right? So that is where my interest lies. In terms of establishing a practice in this now, I think the hardest part is just to get all of my certification in place. Because yes, there will be some need to do like extensive advertising and etc. But I think people are waking up to the fact that these substances, depending too much on these substances, is actually harmful. And a specialized area like this, right? Once I am able to establish myself, this will be a practice that draws people. People who are interested in this. We have enough of those persons to attract them to do this. All right. So people who are like-minded, they will I see no issue getting it. I think the hardest part is just to get, for example, the chiropractic course out of the way, and we'll take it from there.
Are you able to work on human beings also? Because I have a member of the production staff been having pain in his back, and I was thinking while we're talking about acupuncture, maybe I could have Paul fly over there, and you could really he's from Waterhouse. You have to be very careful with those.
Oh.
I hope I'm not setting you up for the bad experience, but we're Jamaicans, man. Yeah, man. I was saying I could have him fly up and see how you do with him. We could physically bring you here in the US, pathway to success, and the whole world will be open to you now.
So I don't go too deep in that, but of course, I mean, if you're on a road trip and one of my travel mates have some issues, I mean, I can, even through acupuncture, you have a headache, I can help you with that, stuff like that. Yes, to be honest with you, I do stuff like that, right? Just using the points and so we're pretty similar between humans, animals, etc. So
right.
Yes, I'm able to help out sometimes.
Okay, you'll be able to help him. I'm really what is like because the transition it's evident you're destined to live overseas. The transition from Jamaica to Turks, I've never been there. We have been invited pathway to success to come there. What is it about the Turks Island that you'd like to tell us about your experience, even as a vet doctor, compared to Jamaica?
Well, as you would have noticed, I have always been involved in some very high stress, very high profile companies coming forward. And to be totally honest with you, I mean, it was quite stressful. I'm not going to blame all of my hair loss on.
I hope not, because I was just going to say I'm going to produce a hair product for that, so you don't have to worry. We can always practice on each other.
Yes, so I mean, so for years, I mean, I've been in this high stress, very, how would you say, profit oriented kind of situations. And actually, coming to Turks, there were two positions available. There's a position for a chief vet, and there was a position for a quarantine officer. I took the quarantine officer post, and I saw the chief vet post too similar to what I was living in Jamaica. Yeah. As in this high stress, I needed time to refocus. And of course, because when you're so tied up in this, with the job and the studies, etc., what you realize after a while, it feels exactly like, have you ever owned a hamster?
No. No.
Yes, at one short point in time I had one, and that hamster on that wheel? Yes. It was like that. So I mean, it was just very monotonous, right? So I visited Turks and Caicos as a tourist before, and I said, you know what? Beautiful country. I mean, quick access to the beaches, all of that. It was a difference. So it really appealed to me. And just to add something that probably you didn't ask, but just to tell you another part of the story.
Let me hear.
I have to go back to Cuba to really lay the foundation for this, right?
Yes.
Something happened because I told you about that switch from robotics to veterinary medicine. Yeah. It was not as smooth as that, right? Mm-hmm. There was an issue. Really and truly, we should not be allowed to switch careers. But being the person I am, once I get something in my head, I mean, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So just to add, there were two challenges about that. First, the system in Cuba really didn't allow it to be done, right? The Jamaican system didn't allow it either because vets who studied in Cuba, even before me, were not allowed to be registered in Jamaica. Of course, with the language barrier and other stuff when you come back. I knew all of that. Doc, I know all of that, right? But I said, yeah, it can be done. I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I left my very safe career of robotics and I went over to the veterinary faculty. And so I asked the permission to start attending classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay. They don't see any damage in that while the process goes through. However, the Jamaican government actually turned on that request, right? However, when I was in the faculty, I really started beating the books. And it just so happened that I had moved to a room, and in that room, there were a few veterinary-related books just waiting there for me. Just like that, right?
Wow.
Because I could not get my textbook from the faculty. Doc, all right, this is where it gets very interesting now. I heard the name of the person who had those books, right?
Yeah.
I'd never met the person before because he left before I came over, right? Would you believe that I told you just now there were two positions?
Yes.
Anyway, when I saw those books, I said, man, I would love to thank this person. One day, thank this person, because guess what? I use those books in order to be able to study and pass all my exams. Because even when the reply came back from Jamaica, and they said, no, you cannot change. I was doing so well in the faculty that the Cuban people said, listen, man, we cannot send home the best student in the class.
Wow. Wow.
So guess what? I said no, because of course I was studying without being matriculated. So they sent that letter to the Ministry of Education in Cuba and said, no, man, we cannot send home this guy. This guy is the best student we have in the class. And would you believe that when I came here now and I met the person who applied for the chief vet position, would you believe it's that same person who left those books in Cuba?
Yes, wow.
So I'll be telling you. So after that happened, I mean, we had to, it was so strange. I mean, tears came to my eyes. I mean, the guy was crying as well. We're like, what? How is this possible? So of course, I mean, sometimes you wonder, you make some decisions and you wonder, is it the right thing? But it's just strange. We both ended up here. So,
you must be, I'm like brothers now.
Yes, more or less. But I mean, it's like that, So there's that connection. I mean, unexpected, but that is the side of it. I mean, I never expected to meet the person who left those books, and I always wanted to thank that person. And look at it this way: if I had applied for that chief vet position, he wouldn't be here.
No.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just
it's a divine thing. It's something supernatural. It's
it's huge. It's huge. So I mean that, and but it's one of those things where you really have to just scratch your head and you have to say, man, this is what are the odds of both of us?
You're a great trendsetter. You have inspired us. What advice would you give to individuals who are stuck, who feel stuck in their current career path and want to refocus and strive for more?
Well, for me, I mean, my trigger has always been, I always say to my close friends, listen, if you get up, when you realize you're going to your job, your career, whatever, you get up, and you get up early and you cannot leave the house, you just, you're not feeling. You need to revisit what you're doing.
Yeah.
So even like me, I mean, sometimes we have to walk away from huge salaries, etc. But guess what? Life is more than just that aspect, right? You have to look at the whole picture. And I would tell those persons, I mean, reevaluate. You don't have to do it as drastic as I do. Because I mean, once I start feeling demotivated, I mean, if there's nothing I can do, in that current position, I'm going to move. So you don't have to be that drastic, but in today's world, I mean, it's so easy to do additional studies online, etc. Start looking into something, right? There's so much opportunities there. So a person like that who feels stuck, I mean, there's hope. Look into something like that. You can do a second career, you can change your career, or you can even just advance yourself more and you move on to something else, right? But it has to be about living while you're working, not just, you don't want to be stuck in that
No.
in that loop.
Where do you see yourself, Doc, in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I mean, in the next 5 years will be a result of some of the things I'm doing now. About more or less promoting myself in terms of, as you know, I have special interests, and I also have some things in the pipeline. Working with people, of course, it's never always about just me, but more than likely I won't be here in Turks and Caicos, but yes, but I mean,
we can open a vet acupuncture company together.
So it's like that, you know. So
just go to Cuba and study like you.
Yeah.
Motivation.
Yes, but it's just like that. I mean, just of course it will depend a lot on your family situation, etc. But I mean, it has to be that you're living, you're not just existing and running on that hamster wheel, the quicker you realize that, I mean, it's better for your health, it's better for everything, right? So the quicker you start, the better, because I mean, there are countless excuses. I remember one time, right, when I was working at Windalco in the mining era, because my staff, I always try to motivate them, right? Because people come from, like, for example, College of Agriculture to do internship with us. Every opportunity I get, I'm always telling them, hey, strive for something more. I mean, it hurts me when a good worker leaves, but if he's leaving for something better, I mean, I'm all for that. So I remember I was explaining to a person that, listen, man, try to get into the College of Agriculture, right? And he was telling me what he needed. He told me he needed 2 cars. He needed, a whole list of things he needed to do before he could do it. And I said, listen, man. So it's things like this. We put a lot of lists together and, why we can't do it. But if we look at the positive side and say, why can we? Or what can we do? You realize how easy it becomes after a while. So it's more or less, Doc, it's like that.
Wow. I want to thank you so much for inspiring us today on Pathway to Success. Indeed, your story is an inspirational one that I believe that everyone can take a page, many pages out of your book. You're a visionary. You cross over so many things that a lot of person will see as an hindrance. You're willing to take that chance. Today, I celebrate my fellow Jamaican, Dr. Ralston Bent. And thank you for finding time to come on Pathway to Success to share your amazing story, and as well, looking forward to meet you in the future very soon.
Good, Doc. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Right.
Bite for this week. You can do all things if you have great belief in yourself. All you need to do is focus. You are the one that can change your destiny. All you need to do is believe in you. Have a great week.